This is a sensor tag, which is a small Internet of Things packet of sensors. And so inside the rubbery case, little plastic case, and inside that we have a little circuit board and a little battery with a packet of sensors on it. We'll see a few of them in a moment. There's things like accelerometers and temperature sensors and all sorts of other ones. And it's designed so that if I can just put it back into its case again, whoops, I'm a little bit clumsy as I do that, then basically if there's an app that runs on the iPad, and if you just pull the tag out, then suddenly it can see over Bluetooth the packet of sensors. And so if we start tapping on that one and go to sensor view, that, if I just give it a moment, will start reading the different values coming out of the sensor tag. Now it starts out reading them relatively slowly. Sorry, let's put that in. Is it that way around? It fits better one way up than the other. But so we've got things like temperature, ambient temperature and infrared temperature. So at the moment, ambient temperature 26, infrared only about 20 because it was looking down at the cold desk. If we do something silly like go, and so that went up to about 28 was the inside of my mouth when I was doing that. Wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that in schools for hygiene. Humidity barometer, but let's just pop down to the movement sensor, and I'm going to turn off wake on shake because otherwise it will sometimes go to sleep. And let me change that so that it reads things relatively fast, so hopefully we get a nice good fast graph going. And then let me open up the acceleration graph. Now, because we are on a planet that is spinning, even though the thing is still, you'll see an acceleration which is gravity, and you'll see that at the moment on that red axis. And if I turn it sideways, okay, now it's on the blue axis, must be the other way up, okay, and now that one is on the green axis. And so we get all of those. Now, theoretically, if I was to put this into free fall by, say, dropping it from a height, we should see this disappear. I'm just going to put it that way around because I find it easier to drop from that direction. So that kind of disappeared until it landed, and it happened to land the other way up. Let's try that again. Okay. And again, it flipped over. I tell you what, let me throw this up in the air. Let's go 1, 2, 3, whoa! And hopefully we saw that disappear for a little bit while it was in the air. One of the other little things I quite like to do, this thing goes up to about 8G. So what I'm going to do, let's take it for the moment out of its rubbery case and stick it inside a sock. And let's generate some centrifugal forces by spinning the sock round. Now, I am terrible at turning socks the other way out, so pardon me while I struggle to turn a longish sock the right way around. You can tell that I'm a slightly messy person and clearly don't roll up my socks when I take them out of the washing basket to put them into my drawer. Now, if I do that, and if I start whirling this around, it's going to go off the top of the chart, because this chart only goes up to about 2G. But if I go back to this view over here, then you can see along here that it's got the G readings for the X, Y, and Z axis there. If I step back and whirl this around, we should see one of them go up to about 8G. Okay, and let me see. Now, it's only getting it about every 10th of a second, so it's not going to get many readings, but we can try, for instance, flinging the sock up in the air. Oops. Try flinging the sock up in the air and catch that. And so hopefully we'll have seen some readings going on as it's kind of popping up in the air, but it's still spinning around and all sorts of things going on. 0.1 of a second, it's probably not fast enough for physics experiments like collisions necessarily to get all the fine detail. But you do have a packet of sensors here that can pick up, acceleration and gyroscope and the magnetometer, which can also do things like compass for things in the physics area. But then you've also got, if you're looking at agricultural or plant growth or things like this, you've got temperature, humidity. There's a light sensor in here as well. So you can imagine, for instance, going and putting one of these out amongst your tomato plants and measuring the light and the humidity and what is going on for your little pots of tomato plants, and kind of a miniature version of the sensors that they use in large tomato growing places that have lots and lots of sensors going on to see how their plants are growing. So sometimes I like to cover up gaps in the demo with a little bit of silliness. Now, here we have our sensor tag that can broadcast temperatures to a device and out to the internet. So maybe we'd want to put this out underneath our hens and measure the temperature of the eggs and send it out to the internet, and maybe we'd want to integrate it with some kind of AI. Well, I haven't got a hen here, so let me just hold this in my hands. And then let me say, okay Google, talk to my egg app.
Okay, let's get the test version of my egg app.
So that's just a little thing so that I know...
Aren't you going to introduce me?
So that's just a little thing so that I know that the app has started.
You must be mumbling again.
How's my egg?
These hands are warm, but I think they need washing.
Okay, don't talk like that. You'll get me into trouble.
I am AI. Dot, I'm coming for your job.
I could always ask Alexa.
Actually, those hands aren't so bad.
Okay, so I haven't really got this actually talking out to Google Assistant, but theoretically doing so is perfectly possible. This is able to send stuff up to, because of who runs Sensor Tag, it goes out to IBM's cloud and Watson things, but we can move data between different things. And so hopefully you can imagine that you can really have a farm or a chicken shed that is full of sensors talking about what's going on, and you can then feed these things into conversational agents and ask them how things are going and talk to them, kind of in a bit of a Star Trek-like fashion.